Glad to have you back at the other side. We'll be having the discussion segment on Good Morning Anambra this beautiful day, the 6th day of February 2025. And in the studio this morning, we shall be discussing something that is very, very important, because wherever you are listening to my voice, watching me, it concerns you, it concerns me that is even speaking. And what do we have to be talking about? But then let me not let the cat out of the bag. Let me tell you that I'm equally here with my amiable co-presenter talking about Noye Okoye. Noye, the subject today concerns us.
You've baptized me on Good Morning Anambra show. Noye Okoye. I'm the Nwa Okoye, not Okoye, before Okoye will come and chase me.
No problem.
All right. It's good to have you on Good Morning Anambra show today. Like Ajulo said, we are here for what concerns each and every one of us. You know, it's a global thing, but sometimes some of us think it's just in Nigeria. It's a global thing. That's the most important thing you need to understand this morning. Ibarana is not just about you or just in Nigeria or just in Anambra state. But when we talk about inflation, it's globally.
Yeah, of course. Everywhere around the world, they are having some form of inflation. Inflation differs in country to country, and some find it very, very difficult to grapple with it. But in the studio this morning, while we release the topic that we'll be talking this morning, talking about staying financially strong in a high inflation economy. With us is Princess Letitia Shekina Maxwell, a minister of the Gospel of Jesus Christ, writer, publisher, gospel musician, an entrepreneur, and most importantly, a mother. That is how equipped she is here in the studio. Good morning. Good morning, Letitia.
Good morning, good morning.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you this morning. So, as all this nomenclature that you possess, talking about staying financially strong in a high inflation economy, can you just give us in a nutshell what to do and things to stay away from in order to keep ourselves afloat?
Okay, when we talk about how to stay financially stable, I want to know, is it for an individual or as a family?
Yeah, individual and family. That has to be good, because someday that individual will have a family.
All right. So when we talk about individual, first of all, you need to understand the system at that particular moment, what is going on, what is obtainable, and who are you, and what is your financial capabilities, what do you earn per day, what do you earn in a week. Then going by what you think you produce, what your productivity is, you'll be able to sit down and itemize every of your activities, every of your expectations, what to do, what not to do. Then you begin to prioritize them. So first of all, what are the necessary things? Because I used to hear in the past that when some people will say, you know, cut your coat according to your cloth. But based on experience and reality on ground, you find out that you are not just going to cut your coat according to your size or whatever it is. You have to check your size. You have to check the material you have. So, and now cut it according to the cloth, not your size. Because if you decide to cut according to your size, you find out that the material you have is not enough. But when you are cutting based on what is available to you, you know, okay, am I going to sew maybe just a body hug? Or am I going to make a spaghetti hand? Am I going to just make ordinary skirt? So you work according to what is available for you. And when we now bring a larger family, the family into it, that is a bit complex, because for a family to at least work together, there must be family in reality. There are some people that when you say, okay, this is a family, but when you take a good look at them, you find out that there's no family existing in the real sense of it. Because a family can be said to be ideal when there is a unity, when there is a common goal, when there is an understanding of everybody in the family. Then everybody can come to a round table, like I've always said, and begin to check out what works for the family. Because what works for family A might not be what is working with family B. So each family should be able to understand what is the goal of the family and they itemize it. That's number one. When you finish doing that, you'll find out what are the available resources for that. And number two is that everybody must find a way or two to contribute positively to the stability of the family so that everybody's goal must be carried along as they plan. So coming back to that of an individual, when you become an adult, for instance, you know what you want. You know, okay, in the next 2 years, this is what I want to become. 3 years, this is what I want to become. Then going by the situation, difficult situations in the nation. For instance, before now, for instance, like the car I use, before now you can use like 6,000 naira and fill your tank. You can drive anywhere, go visit anybody anywhere. These things are small things. But when you lay them down, you'll find out they are very big things. And if you're able to manage them, you realize that you can be able to have a smoother running of your personal activities and that of the family at large. But right now, that same car, if I want to fill the tank, it can take me like about 70,000. And you find out that when you're filling the car for 6,000, 7,000, you can decide to be everywhere, driving all around, even be, driving, going where nobody sent you. But right now, like for instance, I'm going to a place. I calculate now where to go with the car and where not to go. These are realities on ground. You don't have to pretend that everything is okay. That's one thing. Telling yourself the truth, because things are not normal anymore. So you have to go back to that your drawing board. Check what the real priority is. Because before, there are things we think they are priorities. But when you check them again, you find that there's still other way out than the previous way you've been doing it. So right now, I don't just go everywhere I'm called, because you're cutting expenses. Somebody can say, okay, come to my house, I want to discuss with you. If you tell me that now, I'll tell you, what are we discussing? I prefer to call you back. Because as I'm calling you back, I'm cutting my petrol, I'm saving my time. It might be something we can talk over 10 minutes and it is resolved. I'm just giving that one as an example. And this thing is a bit complex. Then when you come to feeding, let's talk about feeding, because that is the most important thing as it is, how to eat. You find out right now, people now think more, where do we get the best or the cheapest food? Initially, you can just run to any closed market or supermarket to buy your things, no matter the cost, because there was no much trouble. But right now for me, if you see the way I go online, like to check, where do I buy the cheapest kind of crayfish, where is the discount? When you go through all those things, you'll be able to know, this is what I am using. And to really face reality, people need to adjust a lot more to be able to survive the level of hardship that is there. If initially you can use 2 kilos of meat to cook 1 pot of stew, cook 1 pot of soup with another 2 kilos. Right now, it no longer works. You can try to buy 2 kilos of meat, 1 kilo for stew, 1 kilo for the other one. Everybody must not have 3 pieces of meat per plate of food. So cutting those things down, they are very, very important, so that you can be able to extend the finances to other things and not just eating food alone. Because there are other things to even invest on apart from food. So, and all these things are looking for attention to. So when everything at home is being attended to and their importance and value placed on the table, then you can begin to see where to cut things so that you can meet up. And again, if you ask me to say, even as a young girl, a young boy growing up, there is need now for people to begin to learn some skills, have some skill acquisition, that even when you come back from school, there are things to do to earn 1 or 2. That is my own personal opinion, advise people. You are going to school, because I realized there was a time I had one of my friends came back. I discovered that his 11-year-old son was already making money. And the money the boy was making a month is 2 times bigger than what I even paid my manager at that time. The boy had become productive by himself. So that, because in a family, for instance, you have 6 members in a family, then you have the man and the wife. Only the 2 of them are struggling. It depends on the kind of job they are doing. So gone are the days whereby you have young adults at home and they are not doing anything. So everybody must have a way of contributing, at least to take care of some of their first level kind of business needs.
As of October 2024, there's this report that Nigeria's inflation rate was 32.70%,
okay.
Which is the highest inflation in 28 years. You know, like we said when we were starting, that we think it's just in Nigeria. Now, with this rate of inflation, and it's you're talking about reality on ground, it's every day there is new policies in Nigeria, choking Nigerians, that I don't know whether this planning you're talking of, can really work in a system like this, where things are not static, or where things, especially for people that receive pay, civil servants. So I don't know, with this rate of inflation, do you think all that you have said is doable in our current Nigeria?
That's a difficult one to answer, but at the same point, there is an answer to it.
All right, let's see.
The problem is that we need to understand that we are actually in for a big problem. And when you look at it carefully, it looks like there is no way out. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I'm saying what, based my observation, not just for me, everybody. I don't want to put blame on anybody, but we know that some of the things we're talking about, a lot of people have said, if the government has done this, if they have done that, if they have done this, and, this wouldn't have been the case. But all the things we're expecting them to do, or we think they ought to have done, you can see that it is not being done. And if you ask me, to some extent, it want to look like they are not even aware of the problems. And it also want to look like they don't also know what to do. Many of them don't know what to do. Because if they know what to do, they would have done some things. So it has become, permit me to say, it is now between us and ourselves and God. So that people should begin to look at what will work for them and believe their maker for supply. Because if we have to say it the way it is, a lot of people might get offended, because for me, initially I have that kind of mentality that it is Nigeria or nothing. I believe in this country, so much. Even when I had some of my relations, they are traveling. I was the only one that said, I'm not going anywhere. I love this place. But as it is now, it's not as if I'm going to run to anywhere, but I'm now facing a kind of reality that I've never faced in the past, where feeding is even a very big problem. And now when you're a civil servant, like you mentioned, the husband is working, the wife is working, and what they are taking home cannot feed anybody as it is right now. So people need to lay their hands on different kind of things to actually survive. That is the reality. Because you can't keep pushing the government, because you're not even seeing who you're pushing, and some of them you're talking to are not even listening. So what do is to fall back. Now know that you take your destiny, by your own hands, praying to God for survival. That's the summary of what I am saying. I'm not going to push the government to do anything because some of them don't know what to do. They are very confused. And you can't sit down waiting for a confused person to lead you anywhere. It is not to go back. And one thing I use and console myself, I'm a Christian, I'm a preacher, I've looked at the Bible. The Bible told me that God will supply my needs. He didn't tell me a government to supply my needs. So I'm now working on that based on faith. So that is where we have found ourselves, and that tells you that the situation is very bad.
Well, the situation being bad as it may be, but yes, as human beings, we feel the pinch everywhere we go. You talked about parents encouraging their children into diversification, where probably they can make extra money. But in this day where we have social media, the bad and the ugly experiences, don't you think that will expose our kids into nefarious activities, all in the name of trying to either bring in some money to, augment what the parents are bringing at home? And on the other part, wouldn't that be parents relinquishing their responsibility on the fragile shoulders of the parents, of the kids they are meant to take care of?
Okay. What you said is what it should have been. But with the realities on ground, even when I say, children should participate in one way or the other, does not mean there are very legit business or things that people can do. Let me use my daughter as an example. That one, when she was first year, she began to learn graphics.
Were you the one that encouraged her?
Yes, I did.
You saw the talent in her?
Yes. You see, there is something that can be in you. I don't like doing one thing. I do a lot of things. Like even the way I am, I do a little graphics, I do a little editing, so I know those things. Like some of the things I do, I work by myself. So when they also learned that in the house, so she knew that she cannot just fold her hands and just be a student. So she began learning graphics, good one. She began to learn Facebook management and all those things. Then as I'm talking to you, okay, even this dress I'm putting on, she made it. The skirt I'm putting on, she made it. And yet, she's a microbiologist, so she's graduated first class, and she make all types of clothes, including senators for men. So when the person is equipped like that, even if she decides to go and work as a microbiologist, she's doing that job, and when there is need to make clothes, she will also make clothes. Like recently, she made clothes for somebody, senators, about 400K. She made her little profit and put in her pocket. So she cannot tell me right now, come and buy a cream oil for me, because she takes care of that. That's kind of example I am looking at. The other time I visited her where she stayed, I said, okay, by the corner of your house, when next I'm coming, I'm bringing ugu seed and some vegetables, let me help you and plant them. You get what I'm saying? Do you know right now, when you go to the market, the normal ugu size in Anambra State, we used to buy 15 naira before, is now 300. And the 300, they've also divided it into two. For me, when it was 15 naira, for us to make vegetable soup, whatever, our vegetable can cost maybe 2,000. But right now, 6,000 naira vegetable cannot be enough. What do? I'm looking for bowels behind the house where I can plant ugu. These things look very, easy to say, but that is the reality. So you can imagine if I'm able to have a garden where I can no longer go to the market to buy vegetables. Do you know that at the end of the year, because of the inflation right now, I might be saving close to 200,000, if not more, only on vegetable? That is the reality. And you eat the quantity you want. So it touches very many areas. So it's not like, okay, there was a time they said, you see children on the other hawking things on the street, they were like, okay, why are their parents leaving them to do this and that? The level of hardship can hit a particular family and everybody, your mother, because if you leave the mother and the father alone to handle everything in the family, they will die prematurely because their strength cannot carry handling everything with a level of inflation. They are going to have mental problem by themselves. So every child will have to contribute in a way. It might not be the best, but that is the situation. But what I'm saying is that people should try to also think, plan, and see what will work. We don't need to go to social media to dance, shaking buttocks for things to work. There are other things to do that will function very well. Like being a pastor, I'm a missionary. I don't just sit maybe in one beautiful glass church just preaching. I go to missions, even remote places. For instance, some place I went to Uganda, I was the first preacher to come there. I was the first to put a church there. You know, those kind of situations. I still find my time and my way to make soap, make cream, at least the ones I use, and sell to people around me to use, and I make money. So the cream and soap everybody use in my house, we don't buy 1 naira soap from the market apart from going to buy the ingredients, and I make natural soap. I can go to the market, buy cloves, buy ginger, come back to the house, use and prepare soap. And that's what we're using, even my aged father. So what I'm trying to tell you is that people should begin to look into those things to help build their family.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think at this point I would like to thank God for you, that God has helped you so far, you know, to be able to do some things you're doing to help in your own little way. Now, when we talk about, you know, standing firm or standing strong financially during this inflationary times, a lot of things are coming up every day, like I said earlier.
Okay.
And people, you know, some people's mental health has already been affected. When you listen to all the news that we are hearing these days of even people burning their wives and all whatnot, you know, when we trace them, they may not be far from this inflation we are talking about. So as a minister of the gospel, please, in as much as we are talking about standing strong financially, what do you have to tell some people that, you know, seem like all hope is lost, you know, because is like they're trying to see what they can do to help themselves, but somehow it seems it's not working the way it should be.
It's all right. You know, encouragement is good. Reality is also good. And being a child of God, I discovered that the major problem that the whole world is suffering is not knowing God. That is the foundation of the problem. When you know God and I know God and we serve God genuinely, faithfully, some of the stories we hear today will not even be there. Some people have taken God as one thing somewhere. You know, you can afford to do whatever thing you like. And when you are in a problem, you just turn around and tell him, hey, God, help me. It doesn't work like that. So God is looking for those who will faithfully serve him. Those who are his children. He got their back 24 hours. I'm not saying those who go to church. There's a difference between going to church and being a child of God. Anybody can go to the church and sit down. You can sit down and warm in the seat. That doesn't make you a child of God. So first of all is, let us go back to knowing and discovering God and living in his faithfulness. So let it not just be about what God should do. Because there are things too we need to do. Even if God says, okay, I will save you. When he tells you he will save you and you decide to drink poison, you see that God is going to watch the person die. But when he says, I will save you, don't walk yourself into a problem and tell yourself, after all, God is going to save me. So it's not just about encouragement. It's an opportunity to tell people that it is time to return back to God. Because when you see the cases of, okay, a man burning the wife, wife burning the man and all that, you see that particular situation you're seeing is a complex and massive case on its own. things that are surrounding that thing is not just one thing. In as much as hardship, inflation is also there. And some people don't know how to manage situations like that. They can get, broken at the middle, and they become emotional and do things they're not supposed to do. Okay, for instance, the man that burnt the wife, he was claiming the woman did this, was going out. Those things were just excuses for me. Now, when you look at it, just like to agree to what you're saying, somebody was saying, the man should have, taken the woman back to her father's house. I got bored about that statement. I said, you can only take a woman back to the father's house. One, if you are the one that built the house. Two, if you are the one paying rent. Because if I'm the one paying your rent and I'm misbehaving, where will you take me to? The only person that should leave should be the man. And now the man has looked at himself. There's nowhere to go to. He became unnecessarily emotional, and the only thing left for him was to go to attack the woman. Because he has nowhere to go. And from the story, the woman takes care of the family and all that. So we need to come to a point whereby both man and woman need to be really family to be able to work together. If the woman knows God, not that station, if every woman you know God, your husband know God, you know where your respect for your husband, you know that one is a commandment from God, you do that. And a man should know how to take care of the family. And whereby a man is limited, maybe there's a problem, he's struggling with something, the whole family should be together. There will be no incident of burning. So which still go back to the point I said, what people are suffering is lack of knowing God. So I don't know what encouragement I should give at that point, that people should go back to God as a family, as an individual.
Well, people should go back to God. That's a discussion for another day. Even in the developed country where God seems to be far from what they do, they don't suffer the kind of inflation and bad governance that we experience here. So I think everything boils down to individuals, you understand, the people that we have at the ends of affairs, managing our resources, making policy, you understand, that's where we are getting it wrong for us to be in this quagmire, you understand, because they say that for every situation, there is a possible solution out of it. So now, in a nutshell, since we all are Nigerians, Letitia, like you said, you're not planning on going anywhere, probably that's patriotic, that you so much believe in this country. Now, where do you find solutions coming to Nigerians? You seem to have fashioned out your own way. So, apart from, we all are not Christians. There are people that are traditionalists, there are people that are Muslims. So, on a nutshell, something that encompasses everybody. Okay. Where do we see solution coming in managing staying financially strong in this inflation period?
You know the truth, everybody will still have to say or stand by what they know. So what I know is that the whole world is created by God. And I want to tell you that this inflation of a thing is not just our problem. And when you look at other countries critically, you find out that every country is going through something. They have their own thing with them. Like one of my relations, he stays in London. He had been there for like about 17 years now. He said for the first time in the history of that place, even nurses went on strike. So it has not been like that. So happening for him, it was like there is a problem, okay? Now coming to this place, me being a Christian, the Bible tells me that when the wicked is in power, the people suffer, they cry. But when the righteous is in power, the people rejoice. So what else you want me to say? So right now, coming to our situation, I also still want to believe talk shows may not really handle the problems of Nigeria. It is either God or something else. Because the truth is that things are wrong. And when you meet some of these people, you see the way money is being spent. You now know that this country is super rich. Let's go back a little. During the time of COVID, we saw billions coming out, even from individuals. I know one of the church leaders, I think they say he brought either 1 billion or 10 billion naira. Then billions came from different places. So I'm like, we are 200 and something people in Nigeria. Do you know that if some of the money that was contributed, if they decide to give everybody like 2 or 3 million naira, it can cover everybody in the nation. But they decided to go and put it where fire burnt and snake swallowed the money. Fire did not burn any other place. It only burnt the place where all the money was contributed and kept. And we are saying we don't know what happened. So who is deceiving who? So the problem is that, for me, I don't know what else to do. I'm not going to promote revolution. Those ones that have the strength to be talking and fighting, they should go ahead. All I have to do is to keep crying to God to deliver us from the enemies of this land. And I know one day the Lord will intervene, and he will. Let me say something here. It's not something I say everywhere. There was a time they called me to pray in a place in Abuja. Imagine, the person doesn't know me. It was by introduction. And the Lord said, when you get to him, the message to him is, tell him that he, God, will soon start killing politicians. If you are in my shoes, will you go and tell that to somebody you are meeting for the first time that have an issue, and somebody said, okay, when you meet Apostle Letitia, I believe God can use him for you. And the man is a politician. And God said, when you get there, tell him that the message you have is that God said that very soon his anger will come upon politicians. He will begin to kill them. It was difficult for me, but I got to that place. After some time, he kept talking. I was looking at him. When we was on, and I said, okay, this is the message. He was quiet for a long time, because normally as a servant of God, I need to give him prophecies that will make him feel happy. So that when I'm going, I have fat envelope. The Lord have told me, anywhere you are going, provide your transport fare. So when you get there, they didn't give you. You are on the road by yourself, because you're not going to say what they want to hear. When I was done with him, another highly placed person, I don't want to mention his name, that one too said, you need to pray for that, my friend too. We got to his house, very heavy politician. Now them, they wrong country. When we were praying, I said, Father, sir, the Lord said that very soon he's descending on Nigeria and he'll begin to kill politicians because of the crying of the masses. You know what the man did? He said, please, you have to pray and tell God to have mercy on us. People like me, I don't do. He began confession that I didn't ask him. He says, the only money I give to people, I help people. So even if I collect anything, it's to still to help people. So me, I'm not bad. But I didn't ask him anything. He began to say even things I didn't want to hear, because he became afraid. So what I'm saying is that let us not lose hope. Everybody must not have the power to go physically to do things, cause commotion, do rally, protest. No. But some can do protest on their knees, except if we don't believe that God still exists. But for me, as a witness for God, I know that that God, that time, that when his people cry, he hears. Quote and mark this day, that God will show up in Nigerian case. And how those people will be swept off, that nobody will remember them and their lineage will happen. Please don't forget today, because right, God will intervene.
All right. Now, still...
Let us take a break, and then we'll get
all
to
right,
hear what Fortune Aluko has for us, as she is the one that is entertaining our street parliamentarians. Fortune, you can take it off from here and let us get to hear what you have for us this morning concerning this topic.
All right, we'll be right back shortly after that.
In a time where prices rise faster than income, how do people stay financially afloat? Today, we hit the road to find out how Nigerians are navigating the tough economy. My name is Fortune Aluko.
when they na-elebunni ụzọ na-atọ n'ụbọchị mana ụfọdụ anaghị eli ụfọdụ na-eli ofu ụfọdụ na-eli abụọ ọ bụrụ na my opinion ka anyị niile na-achị azụ n'ọrụ ugbo anyị nwere ana chịkọba ede kọba ji chialapụ na-eche maka ndị bunete si ka ebido n'obodo nke anyị kọba ibe anyị akọfụta nri anyị nwere akpụ anyị kọta akpụ anyị ewolume garị anyị lee ya eleta obere ego ọ bụrụ na anyị fụta ele akpụ ije nke iji isi ka ije gote garị na-abịa akwa garị anyị mere na be anyị ọ na-ada nnukwu ego ọ kwesịrị ekwesị
just the grace of God and double hustle, also cutting cost and cutting down your expenditure as well. You have to adjust in everything, both your feeding, lifestyle, and so many things. You have to adjust in everything for you to survive now, else you go down. And we're also pleading on the government to see if they can support in ways they can to support poverty is being elevated, and at least by setting up some sort of structures that will empower the youth.
Well, you need to be doing a couple of things. You don't just depend on one source of income. Basically, that you be able to meet up with the rate of inflation. Because the devaluation is so high that people didn't know that Naira has been devalued. And the little income you have cannot pull you through. So you need to do some other things. There are multiple sources of income if you way out of it. The civil servant, fair hands in one trade or other, agriculture, any other form that legislative income can come in. So you'll be able to show up in expenditure.
In fact, God is helping us in this country, because if you say let us measure the things that happen in this Nigeria, it is immeasurable. We are staying under God's hands. Things are costly. Things are very, very costly. Only by struggling, everybody is struggling now to survive. Even if I tell you now this morning, I know the kind of quantity of food I ate, I can't believe. Just very little, but I'm just managing it with my happiness. So it is only by measurement. In fact, everybody is just trying to adapt what is happening in Nigeria now. But by God's grace, we have to meet up. So everything is just by God's grace. So if any day you see something to eat, thank God. If you didn't say, manage to manage yourself and your family. I'm a civil servant, and also I have some little farm, which I'm trying to. I use some cement, cement bag to do some little farm on my own area. Even not a vegetable as well. I'm just trying to do a lot of farm on my area so that I can be able to get something during the season of it. I will just get something out of it, then use it to manage myself and my family.
You've just heard people's opinion on how to stay financially strong despite rising costs. And as they say, tough times never last, but tough people do. My name is Fortune Aluko.
Up, I guess they will be coming back to augment that. Well, in the studio, we still have with us Letitia talking about staying financially strong in this inflation period that we find ourselves in. Before that break, we were talking about solutions to the problems that we are facing in this part of the world, and then what remedy that we can bring in order to alleviate and probably reduce our problems. And then we've heard a whole lot.
You've talked so much about reality on ground, and this time, in terms of standing strong financially in this inflationary time, I would want you to talk about the issue of so much increase in tariff that we experience on a daily basis, and people using, there are some people that use more than one phone, and people that use more than one phone, and every day we hear electricity tariff increase, we hear of petrol, they reduced price of petrol just yesterday or so, and so many other measures that they are bringing on table. Do you think this is in any way going to help Nigerians to stand strong financially in the face of this inflation?
Honestly, there is problem. It's not, the inflation is not helping anybody.
Matters.
Instead, it is killing the people. There's so much. Okay, let's talk, for instance, about some of the network we use. You know, it seems like there is a lot of manipulations everywhere. We are trying to solve the problems we have on ground, and they were still creating more.
Even toll gate is coming up.
Yes, everything is coming up. Okay. Now, there is a phone I have. On its own, I don't know how a particular network provider will push up a text. On it, it will show you cancel and put OK. And when you are canceling it, it will refuse to cancel. It will cancel, it will push up, it will cancel. Now they want you to just press OK. If you touch the OK, it will stop once. If you keep canceling it, it can come like 30 times. So can you imagine you want to use your phone and you have to keep canceling for 30 times. So when they see that you insist, then they will let it go. Then after a couple of hours, it will come up again. And once you put OK, OK means they will put you into a particular setting whereby they can be collecting 50 naira every day. And they think that people don't pay attention. And normally, initially, I don't know. I keep putting just OK to go. So I was everywhere. And when you put your airtime, they keep on removing money. You don't know where it goes until I begin to pay attention. I had to call them. They say, okay, if you don't want this, cancel this. If you don't want this, I began to cancel all of it. So right now, the other one, I will keep canceling that 30-something times until they stop. So I now have the time. Because if not, imagine when they remove 15 naira, for instance, or 100, from like 20 places from you in a day, what will you do? The money is gone. So it's not helping anybody. Like I'm saying, the situation now is a situation that somebody don't really know what to say anymore. You know, it was in the past we are complaining. Right now, even the mouth to complain is no longer there. Because will you complain about everything?
Which one will you complain?
So that is the confusion is as bad as that. I don't know for any other person, but that is what I experienced. So it is not left for families to begin to decide what to do for themselves. Initially in the house, you know, when you buy your power, you leave the light, everything is on. You don't care. But right now, I have joined them to be putting off light when it is morning. So we can save energy to use for night. Okay? So when you, initially we can have, you know, water boiling in the gas, you don't care. Right now, you hear me yelling from the room, who is boiling the water? If you're not ready to, please don't boil. So things has become, that is the reality. So you have to look for a way that will work. Now people are selling charcoal stove and the rest of them. Initially, so many people don't feel, you know, they feel they're too classy.